Let's go! The fight either ends like this, or it will end like this. So either Aljo wins by tap out, or the Suga show by knockout. There are only two possibilities for this fight, in my opinion. I will give you my breakdown and my pick what will happen in that fight. Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA.
What's up, brother?
Sean O'Malley finally gets his shot at the title against Aljamain Sterling in Boston this weekend. Let me give you a small little breakdown and a prediction at the end of the video, so stay tuned until the end of the video, and I would say let's start with it. So, key factor in this fight is the center of the cage, because both guys really like to take the center early at the very start. They're both fast starters that come out the gate's quick and try to get the center of the cage and try to get you backed off against the fence. And the fence is a really key point in this fight, because O'Malley against the fence, he does not want to be there. If Aljamain has O'Malley against the fence, he will most definitely take him down, because look at Piotr Jan against O'Malley. O'Malley always got taken down when Piotr shot at him, shot for a takedown at the fence. He had really big problems defending it, and Aljamain has better takedowns than Piotr. So O'Malley needs to get away from the fence at all costs. At the same time, O'Malley wants to press you against the fence, because then you have nowhere to go and he can unleash on you. You know what I mean? He can play with you if you're trapped against the fence. He wants to trap you into certain key points of the octagon where it's very hard for you to get into the open space again and have space to move, to avoid all the attacks. So that will be really interesting to see, especially at the opening bell, who will get the upper hand there in this regard. But for O'Malley, distance is really key in that fight. He does not want to be in close range with Aljamain. Not because Aljamain is the biggest threat in the striking. He has good striking, very funky, comes from weird angles. He throws a lot of shots, especially with switching his stances as well. A lot of shots while he switches stances and comes with a knee, like unorthodox shots. But in close range, he can go for a takedown. And in long range, if Aljamain shoots for a takedown in the open, the chances that O'Malley, he's so fast, so slick, and he gets his knee up there, or an uppercut or whatever, is really there. So it's really dangerous for Aljamain to shoot in the open. Aljamain wants to trap him against the fence, get a hold of him, get in the clinch, like against Triple C, and then change levels. You know what I mean? So as I said, O'Malley needs to avoid the fence at all costs, but what O'Malley does really well is his footwork, and that will help him a lot in that task. Because O'Malley, whenever you try to trap him against the fence, he normally uses his range very well to get out of there. So when he sees us getting trapped against the fence, he will just throw a backhand or a jab or whatever and use that momentum of hitting you, because when you get hit, you normally don't just walk forward like that. You stop for a second. He uses that momentum to get out of the way, to get circle around the cage, you know what I mean? To not get trapped against the fence with his back. He does it really well. And what he also does, sometimes when you see him against the fence, he does something that no one really does, unless, I think I've seen Belal doing that against Vicente Luque in the second fight. He does something like this. He jumps side to side, and whilst that's not the official thing that you do in martial arts normally, it can be effective for him, because he's so creative with his attacks that even when he's doing that, you never know what's coming. He could still attack. But at the same time, he also has a much easier going to then move out of the way from doing that, to just go out of the way, circle around the fence, than if he just does the typical moving like that, you know what I mean? The small one. This gives you much more to think about, and it's not, I would never tell this to anyone to do that. It's not smart for any normal human being, but for O'Malley it works. And stuff like that, funky movements, and just creativity is the key for O'Malley in that matchup. Because Aljamain gets hit. Aljamain leaves a lot of openings, and O'Malley's a sniper. O'Malley finds openings with everyone. You have to see, O'Malley found openings with Petr Yan. Petr Yan is the guy that rarely gives you openings in the striking. Who beat Petr Yan in the striking purely, other than O'Malley? It was a close fight. You can maybe talk about Sandhagen, that was very close as well, but still, O'Malley finds the shots. O'Malley finds your chin. And Aljamain gives a lot of openings. Aljamain leaves his hands down a lot of times. When he kicks, he often kicks like that, with his hands down, or with his hands like here. Doesn't help him too much. He gives huge reactions to kicks. He oftentimes tries to go down to block it, and he doesn't really see if it's coming high or low. He tries to grab it, whatever. O'Malley is so slick with mixing up, going to the body, going to the head with the kicks, question mark kicks, whatever. And I think head kicks will be a huge factor in that fight. How has Aljamain been knocked out? He's been knocked out by a head kick. And that didn't go away until now. He's not doing anything better in terms of defense, in my opinion. And Aljamain leaves so many openings when he strikes as well. He's very funky with his strikes, very hard to predict what he does. But every time he kicks, his hands are low. Every time he does something, his hands are low. He's so open for counters. And what O'Malley does really well, if you kick, for example, and Aljamain also, what he does is he telegraphs his kick. When Aljamain kicks, most of the times you can see them from a mile away. He's like, and then he kicks. Like he's calling you before and telling you that he's about to kick. And what O'Malley does really well is out of the range, in of the range, out of the range, in of the range. So when O'Malley sees that Aljamain is kicking him, about to kick him, a low kick or something, because he will attack the legs a lot. That's always the game plan against Sean O'Malley, attack his legs. He can just go out of the way for a leg kick, boom, come in again with a 2, because he has such fast hands. And his hands are so slick, especially the backhands. And what he will do, that you always walk into his backhands and his back kicks, his rear attacks, is whatever you try to do. When normally you try to walk towards the jab hand, right? When you're the opponent of someone, especially against a guy like O'Malley who has very strong rear attacks, you try to circle away from them. So if I'm standing orthodox, this is my strong side, you don't want to walk to this side because here you're walking into my shots. You're walking into my power shot, so you walk the other side. But the problem with O'Malley is you can't just do that. When you walk towards his weak side, all he does, switch stances. Because O'Malley is so slick in both stances, he doesn't really have a weak side. He can knock you out with his right hand, with his left hand, with his left foot, with his right hand, but he normally finishes fights with a rear attack from the back side. But it doesn't matter from which stances. So whenever you walk to the other side, he will just switch stances. You walk to this side again, okay. You walk to this side again, okay. You will always walk towards his power side, which makes him so dangerous. He also uses his front kick really well, kind of like a jab. He will just throw it out there. As I said, that's kind of a jab, setting up combinations with it and everything. He's just so slick in his striking. And I just believe, look, if Aljamain gets him to the ground, it can be a long night. O'Malley has very underrated grappling. I believe he has the chances to get out of submission attempts, out of bad positions, but Aljamain is the best grappler in this division, the most dangerous grappler in this division. That's for sure. So important for O'Malley, avoid that at all costs. But what you have to see is O'Malley, since a year, since he fought last time in October, he has been preparing for this fight. He knew it's either going to be Aljamain or Henry. Both guys will try to grapple him. So for 1 year, he was dedicating himself, preparing himself for these opponents, for a grappling heavy opponent. So he will be more than ready. And what you have to see as well is Aljamain just had a fight 2 months ago or something, 3 months ago. Quick turnaround. He said he had problems, injuries, bicep, neck, everything. He's hurt. He's not coming in that fight 100% fit, not at all. He didn't want to take that fight at all costs, but somehow the UFC made him do it. Aljamain will not be at his best, in my opinion, physically in that fight. And against O'Malley, you need to be that. And he hasn't been preparing for O'Malley before that fight. He fought Henry Cejudo, completely different opponent. As I said, O'Malley has been training for that fight since a year. And these are all factors that play into O'Malley's benefit. And one of the biggest benefits for me is O'Malley is a psychopath when it comes to nutrition, recovery, all the science-based stuff. He goes to sleep at this time every day. He works with sleep scientists. The whole year he's having meal prep. All the time he's having meal prep. He has a whole fucking institute of recovery things at his home with red light therapy, with everything. Whilst Aljamain is a complete opposite. Aljamain, after his last fight against Henry, said he didn't drink the whole camp. He will never do that again, not drinking the whole camp, blah, blah, blah. He loves alcohol, he loves to drink all the time. He loves shitty food. After his last fight, he said he's looking so forward to eating shitty food now, Aljamain does not seem to be dedicated to a healthy athlete lifestyle, whilst O'Malley is. And I think this will be a key factor in the fight, especially if it goes to the later rounds. And what you also have to see is Aljamain cuts a lot of weight. He said it will be his last fight at 135. And what happens when you cut a lot of weight? When you're drained, you lose your brain fluid through the weight cut. So you get knocked out much quicker. Your brain shutters back to the back of your head, which causes a knockout much easier, much quicker. There's not much fluid there. It's a more raw impact of the punch, which is the reason why so many guys who cut a lot of weight get knocked out easier. Look at Pereira when he fought at middleweight. So I believe this will be a key factor because O'Malley can put the lights out of everybody. And Aljamain has been knocked up before, and Aljamain is as big as he's ever been, so he has the biggest weight cut he ever had. He'll be drained as fuck. I really, really, really do believe that Sean O'Malley, with his footwork and everything, will find the spots, will find a hack kick, will find a nice straight to knock Aljamain out. I will not be surprised if it would be a first round knockout, but my prediction is, in the first round, they will have a very interesting round where O'Malley at the beginning does a good job of going out of the way, moving out of the way of Aljamain's takedown attempts and everything, and circle around, hit him from range, good shots, softening him up a little bit, not rocking him, but softening him up a little bit, forcing him to shoot. I think Aljamain will get him to the ground in the first round if O'Malley doesn't knock him out pretty quick. He will get him down to the ground, but O'Malley will be so prepared for that and will survive the round. Maybe we'll even get up again. And then in the second round, I believe, as soon as the second round starts, O'Malley will seal the deal. I would say what's pretty likely is what O'Malley does a lot and what Aljamain has a lot of problems with is head kicks behind the punches, like Leon Edwards against Usman, like Gaethje against Poirier. The jab with the high kick behind. The cross with the high kick behind. Where you think about the punch, you do this, you go out of the way of the punch, and then, boom, a hack kick hits you. This is really a good possibility. Also, there's just a straight right of O'Malley. He's been knocking so many people out. He has kind of a mix of an overhand and a straight hand. It's pretty weird. It's not a typical overhand. Sometimes he does overhands as well, but his best strike, in my opinion, is kind of a mix of both. Because he does a straight that is a little bit bent. It's very hard to explain. He does like, you know what I mean? Not a complete overhand, but also a normal straight. And it's so powerful, so explosive, so fast. I believe it will find Aljamain's chin. And Aljos will go to sleep in round number 2. And new Suga, Sean O'Malley. And this time people cannot blame the judges for the W. Still undefeated, Sugar State Athletic Commission approved Sean O'Malley, round number 2, knockout and new. Write your picks in the comments, guys. How do you like this type of prediction video where I can show you some things? Write in the comments, guys. Write your prediction in the comments. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and most importantly, eat your fruits and eat your vegetables, guys. Until the next one, bye-bye. Bloodsport out.